Howdy banger pals, Blayne Smith coming at you with Daniel Dekay, because it's that time of the year. It's a little more than 6 months, but we've had 6 months of record digesting time, which means we got to give you a video saying what are the best releases of the year so far.
We know that you love when we do this together, so it was only natural that Blayne and I be the ones to do this. Plus, it gives us a chance to hang out and make fun of each other's musical preferences just a little bit. I think we should set the record straight. What we had talked about. Everyone should know that we're gonna pick maybe 5 albums each that are not perhaps the usual records we talk about on Banger. Somehow, Mr. Albums over there is gonna pull 5 ones that maybe he hasn't talked about yet.
I talk about 5 albums every month minimum, assuming I don't do a review. So yeah, it would be very easy for me to go, hey, my favorite black metal project, none, released Inevitable. Norway and Sweden cranked out some amazing heavy metal in Flight and Century. Crazy black and death metal project Majesties was in Metal Monthly, and I'm already hearing it's going to be on Album of the Year list. And Ulthar released that amazing double album. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah, same thing for me. If you watch the channel, you already know that I loved Enforced War Remains and Frozen Soul Glacial Domination and Creeping Death Boundless Domain. Those are not the records that we're going to be talking about today, because all of those records have already come up on Banger TV.
But don't let that fool you. Just because we're avoiding the obvious choices doesn't mean these records aren't as good or potentially better than some of those. It's just you always want more records. So here we are with more records for you.
I will say I had a list of 20 I could have talked about in this video, because it has been a very strong 6 months of releases. To reiterate what Blayne says, these next 5 each that we picked for you are some top-notch slabs.
Yeah, enough jibber jabber with the rules and regulations. You're not trying to get to that. You're just trying to pull out your scratch and win tickets. So without further ado, my first pick for record that's potentially going to hit that Album of the Year list of yours, because it's really good, is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Pentadragonic Apocalypse, or Dawn of Eternal Night, an annihilation of planet Earth and the beginning of merciless damnation on KGLW. Whew, that's a lot to get out. So yeah, I mean, I mentioned this record a little bit here and there. It was one of those records where I went, I'll check it out when it came out, because King Gizzard released 5 records last year, so I figured it'll probably be pretty good. All those records were really good, but how much possibly could they have in the tank at this point? And it turns out the thing they have in the tank at this point is potentially, arguably, maybe one of their, if not their best record ever? Question mark? I mean, it's got one of the hardest starts to an album everywhere. Just wild solo and bongo for your first track is incredible. I can't believe they've cranked out this much music, and then we're like, oh, by the way, we were saving a little extra something for the end. And yeah, just a phenomenal record. Blown away.
You picked the Gizliz, baby. Let's go.
Of course. Yeah, it was a combination. The record is so amazing. And then also to just remind people in the comment section of the Queens of the Stone Age, I like alternative rock. I like stoner rock. I really enjoy this stuff as well. I just have a high bar that I want things to pass, and King Gizzard doesn't come anywhere near that bar. They're looking down at that bar from the stratosphere.
It's a good first pick. My first pick for best shit I've heard this year so far is the new Scalp EP, Black Tar. It is grindy ass death metal with all those hardcore tinges that you expect from a band like Scalp. It's got explosive breakdowns. It's full of blast beats, chonky, really like thick, palm muted, sludgy ass riffing. It'll go through really sharp changes, kind of keeps things really exciting. It varies from like straight up like hardcore beatdown style riffing to like slamming death metal riffing. It's really a good mix for the kind of happy riffing zone that I like to hang out in. Vocals are fucking rad. There's parts that you're like, yeah, this is straight up hardcore screaming, and then there's also like diabolical, guttural, evil shrieks. Check it out. It's on Closed Casket, and I think you will love it.
Man, someone switched our notes for this, eh?
Yeah, so I opened up with the grindy death metal slamming record, and you opened up with the stoner rock 70s revival band. Okay.
All right, my next pick is continuing the Curb Your Enthusiasm Spite restaurant arc for me in terms of Spite pick to prove to you that I like the musics that I review when I give something a negative review, and that's Khanat's To Be Cruel on Sacred Bones Records. I didn't think I was ever going to get another Khanate record. The last record was 14 years ago. Stephen O'Malley has some other things on his plate. I didn't think he'd come back to his borderline unlistenable side project. Flashback to September 2005 when I saw them at Sneaky D's, and yeah, the what I was lacking on the Godflesh record, the lack of, I don't know, sense of fear and unwell is fully present here. Alan Dubbin's vocals stress me out, whether he's screaming, just doing spoken word, or whispering. It's intense and terrifying. I was playing the record and I went upstairs and Jackie was like, "What are you playing downstairs? It's making me furious." And I was like, "That's what it's supposed to do." And she was like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because I've gotten to the Hellraiser point of music where I'm just looking for some weird perverted shit to be able to get me off." And Khanate is doing that. So happy they're back.
Borderline unlistenable, noisy side project. Sounds like we're back right where we're supposed to be with your scheduled programming with Mr.
Yes.
Metal Comedy. Yeah.
Slow drone doom. There you go.
My pick, this is a record I did talk about a little bit this year, but I gotta put it on the list. Necrofire, Burning Shadows in the Southern Night. Texas black metal on Season of Mist. To me, and Blayne knows this, black metal's not always for me, but to me, this is the best sounding type of black metal I've heard in years. A lot of emphasis on crispy production and tones and making sure everything's balanced, which is massively missing in a lot of very popular black metal. It's got all the hair-raising, atmospheric type elements of the old school that I find is missing in a lot of newer black metal. It's not just about being the most extreme and the most evil. It's about creating something that you can feel and something about that atmosphere. And that this record absolutely fucking kills it. I think that this record's really making me realize that I need to be adventuring more into the melodic side of black metal. Thanks, Necrofire, for opening my eyes to a genre that, you know, I didn't really know I fucked with this hard. I've had this record on repeat since I got it.
There we go. This is the expanding the horizons best of the year so far for both of us. Continuing the trend, I've been dabbling a little bit with talking about releases that aren't metal on the channel. There's a great post-punk revival going on right now, and part of that is happening in Canada with Homefront releasing Games of Power on La Vida es un mus discos, which is actually a great label to check out if you want some kind of like weird arty punk stuff and you want to expand that horizon a bit. Homefront is a two-man post-punk cold wave group from Alberta. I stumbled upon them accidentally because I am a Polaris juror this year, and they released a Canadian record, so I heard it and was like, oh my god, this is the best thing out of Canada that isn't metal this year. I absolutely love it. They're playing in Toronto with Poison Rune. So if you like Poison Rune, this is a similar band to that. They're touring with them, so that gives you the idea. They're also hitting some other East Coast cities, so keep an eye out for that tour. Again, just like nice, kind of like cold, washed out post-punk that, despite the fact that it's made in Alberta, sounds a little bit like it's made in Britain, just like Poison Rune. So yeah, just every once in a while, I'm gonna sneak some non-metal in there because it's good. It's good. It's good to break things up. Good to break things up.
I'm gonna have to check that out. There were at least 3 buzzwords in there that I do enjoy. So I want to check that one out.
Quite good. It's a quite good little romp. You know, you like the punky stuff, so I don't think you wouldn't like it, and unfortunately, you're not in town. I miss you so much. I thought we'd go to the show together.
I know, I miss you too. I really do miss hitting shows with Blayne. It's an experience. We'll leave it at that. My next one is perhaps, you know, maybe I could have left this in the abridged short list at the top, but fuck, I have to. Hellripper, Warlock Scrim, and Withered Hags. I saw Hellripper live for the first time, played with them at a festival over in Czech Republic very recently. Got to jam a song with them on stage. It was super cool. Love this band. Love this album. It's by far the most realized album in terms of influences and incorporating melody. You can't just call them like black thrash band anymore. People used to be like, yeah, it's Midnight with guitar solos. It was Midnight with guitar solos. Songwriting is massive on this record. It's faster. It's meaner. His voice sounds fucking insane. The genre is often dominated by like messy leads or rock and roll chops, and like James really brings a lot of thought and melody and harmony and technicality into the guitar solos, which is super cool, specifically for this genre. If you like anything that's speed, thrash, black, death, traditional, old school, new school, it's kind of all here.
Daniel cheated a bit. I am also going to kind of pull the same cheat in that I haven't talked about this record. It was reviewed on Banger. And again, maybe it's a spite pick because I really like this style of music and I don't like when people don't, but oh my God, Church of Misery, Born Under a Mad Sign on Rise Above Records.
Yeah.
can you believe it? Again, just, you know, the theme of this pick kind of fits with the others of like, they hadn't put anything out in 7 years. Only the bass player, Tatsu Mikami, was trying to keep the band together, grabbing people, and you figure like, it's just down to the bass player. That's looking grim. And then out of nowhere, boom, new Church of Misery record, boom, kind of in a similar vibe to the Gizzard record, where instead of a lot of records, it was a lot of distance, and you go, well, there's a new record, but how good could it sound? And it sounds so good. Crunchy guitar all over the whole thing, a seemingly endless supply of just head-lolling-y riffs, and then just top-notch soloing. It's got that great unique like flavor of Japanese craziness when a Japanese band just decides to go off. Boy, what a return to form. When you take this much time off, you're supposed to have some rust, and no rust here. Just a fantastic record. Completely blown away by it. So happy to have, again, just one of those blasts from the past that you put it on, and instead of going like, oh, I have rosy memories of what the old record sounds like, you're like, I'm a fan again. Like, they've made me a fan again by just bringing the quality up to where it needs to be for a new record in 2023.
Tied in with you, I also have one Canadian band on here, which is super cool. Also an independent release, Raider, Trial by Chaos. Obviously, I'm going to give anything a listen. It's, you know, from friends or from, you know, close proximity to where I grew up. So this was a natural one to come across my desk from a few sources. I'm prepared for a thrash record, which it's my favorite genre. I'll be the first to admit it's a little tried out and a little tired sometimes. This album is not at all. None of the traditional thrash elements that feel tired and boring in other settings. You don't get that here. And I really think it's because of the songwriting. The songs are fucking incredible. There's a great amount of like traditional and old school and a nod to the way things were, but there's a massive influence of like modern tech sensibility. Kind of like what Revocation did to kind of spruce things up in the world of like death thrash. It's exactly what I feel like Raider is doing here by bringing some serious chops to the table. Tons of great, insane guitar and drumming, tapping harmonies, all sorts of crazy shit. But the vocals are a massive standout to me. They might be my favorite take on like a blackened death metal vocal since a Chance Garnett fronted Skeleton Witch. This is rad. Doesn't feel old at all. Feels new and exciting. Fast ahead, straightforward riffing, tons of techie shit. Can't say enough good things about these Canadian dudes.
I heard a bit of the record and I was like, oh, that's something I should keep an eye on. And then the thing that made me go back to it was going through the banger comments section, because we get down there with you. You know, let us know your top of the year list down there, and we can take an attack away. I actually have two. I have two Canadian bands on my pick. This one I've
Smolder, calling it.
No, this one I talked a little bit about in my in a shout out section, but unfortunately the release was in June, which was the same month as None, and this is also a black metal record, so I just, everybody, I was frothing to talk about None, and everybody wanted to hear me talk about None. But in no lesser in terms of black metal quality is Thantifaxath, Hive Mind Narcosis on Dark Descent Records. Again, another band that I really liked a while ago, and I assumed they were done. I assumed they had packed it up. They're a very mysterious group of boys. They're back, and the record, again, just one of those records where you have a lot of expectations heaped on you from taking 7 years off, and just a super cool avant-garde black metal record. The record starts with, I swear, like they've black metaled the THX sound effect that used to be before movies. They're like, they've turned it into a black metal sound. There's a bunch of very weird sounds that sound familiar but wrong on the record because it is avant-garde black metal. And I know avant-garde black metal can scare people off a little bit because you think it's just going to be like 3 guys banging on a triangle and not much black metal, but at its core, it is a black metal record. If you're willing to step outside of your comfort zone, it's a great record. And if you're already out and you're just wiling out in the weird zone, then this is 100% an absolute pickup. Amazing.
My final pick, a Metal Blade record.
Metal Blade record.
A Metal Blade record. And, you know, perhaps a band that doesn't sound like they should be on Metal Blade, but nonetheless, one of my favorite bands currently going. Have picked them before for an album of the year right here on BangerTV. It's the new Tanith record. You might remember I picked them for album of the year on their last record. Sam and Blayne were very fast to point out that they thought it was odd that I picked heavy metal Fleetwood Mac as my album of the year. They thought I'd pick something a little scarier. But man, there's just nothing but good things I can say about this band. It's adventure metal at its finest. It's really one of those records you listen from start to finish and you feel that you're on a journey with a band. Mythical creatures and all sorts of quests and like, dude, I get really personally invested when I listen to this record. It's a split male and female vocal, probably for the lame basic Fleetwood Mac comparison, although the bands sound nothing alike. This is more like Thin Lizzy, kind of 70s hard rock, single notey, harmonized riffing, lots of really sick, cool runs that are compliments of the legendary Russ Tippins from Satan. There's some serious earworms on this, and they're like fun to sing along to because there's like a male and a female voice. You can kind of like find your range. You know, you don't have to sound like an idiot in the shower with a bad voice. You could like, if you can sing high, you can sing with her. If you can sing low, you can sing with Russ. It's like, it's kind of perfect. This record fucking rules.
So yeah, those are our picks. I also really like that Tanith record. I talked a little bit about it on the channel. The first one I missed. The first time I heard it was when DK brought it up in the album of the year video, but this time I wasn't snoozing. I caught it. I loved it too. So it's really our list. It's a list where we like each other's lists and everything on it, except Khanate might be a little much for you.
Yeah, I think but that was the easy target for me to make fun of all the bands you brought up. That one was like the low-hanging fruit for me to try and rip on. You didn't like you set me up for the slam dunk with that one, bro.
Yeah, that one's a little spicy. But other than that, I feel like we really came together. Just a complete accident, almost like picked records for each other from our tastes, and I think we have a great list and we're sharing it with you. But also, as a reminder, please give us a list of yours down below. Let's compare and contrast. Let's see if there's a front runner showing up on a bunch of people's lists for albums of the year. You got our kind of our predictable album of the year rundown list at the top. You got our less predictable album of the year list here, and let's compare and just like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. YouTube, gotta say it. It's the law.
It's the law. It makes a huge difference to comment and like, subscribe. It actually matters. Our bosses really appreciate it. And just a reminder, this is only the 6 month, the 6 month point on these records. Like, this is half a year, tons of great records already. Keep listening to new music. Keep commenting on records that are getting you excited. And then at the end of the year, there's no way we're not going to have a fucking insane list. If this is where we're at the halfway point, my hopes are set very high. There's a lot of highly anticipated records coming. So keep listening to heavy music. Keep supporting new bands. Keep watching Banger TV. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. That was a fun ass list.
See you, gang.